Michael Katz, Ole Miss Insider, joining us on 105.9 The Zone ESPN, djournal.com. Very, very active on Ole Miss discussion with Parrish Alford and Michael Katz on Facebook. He joins us on the Bell's Two-Hearted L guest line. They're getting revved up for College Game Day and the Texas A&M Aggies 6 o'clock kick Saturday night. Katz, before we get into Ole Miss, real quick, Southern Cal is your alma mater. Are they hiring Matt Leinart or Reggie Bush?
You know what? At this point, I would take anybody with a working pulse and can breathe. That's kind of where I'm at right now. It has been a rough stretch in that Arizona State game was. I think I have watched every moment of every USC game for probably the last 15 years, and I went to bed during the Arizona State game. I couldn't do it.
Hey, who's more popular, Reggie Bush or Matt Leinart in the fan base?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would probably say Reggie, because I think we can all unify behind the fact that he kind of got screwed over by the NCAA.
Agree.
I think that sort of thing. I think that whole thing.
Michael Katz, Ole Miss Insider, djournal.com on the Out of Bounds show. All right, Katz, tell me what's the latest on offensive personnel, health, not healthy? What do you expect this Saturday?
Well, I think it sounds like it's getting better, but as you know, it is always a little bit kind of it's pulling teeth to get the specifics. But we were told yesterday that Jonathan Mingo is expected back. A few left, at least it narrows it down more than we've had since he initially got hurt during the or before Alabama. But it sounds like I think Lane's words to some extent were he will be back at least by the bowl game, which is huge news. Getting him back would be big. I'm not sure what the case with Drummond is. He was not suited up last week. It is a little bit interesting to the Auburn game, and did play a little bit more. So he's kind of wait and see. But Mingo was not in a boot on for last Saturday's game, which I think is a big development. I don't know if it'll be this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's back, for the Egg Bowl or something like that. Matt Corral is beat up. We know that, but I think he's going to be out there until he absolutely can't. And
to what extent do you think is Corral beat up?
So I think it's tough for him because he's never going to show it, but I think you're seeing it most in sort of what they do in the run game, because in a perfect world, Matt is a really big part of that run game. And with him just kind of where he is right now, he will take off. But you're seeing him slide, which is something I don't think any of us saw Matt do much of when he's 100%, at least earlier in the year. I think for him, it's really kind of, what they do in the run game. And I think we kind of saw how that manifested itself, last weekend where, other than that 170-yard run from Jerry and Ely, the run game really wasn't that effective. And part of that can kind of be attributed to Matt really not being a factor in it. Defense didn't really have to account for him much there. So I think, it affects the throwing mechanics and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure it hurts every time he drops back and whatnot, but I think it's really in the running game. And I think they're going to have to figure out some way to, I don't know if it's getting him involved in it or maybe he's better off and they're letting on, but they're going to have to establish the run game if they're going to have any chance against Texas A&M.
All right. Michael Katz, Ole Miss Insider, djournal.com. So, and the offensive line, where are we there?
So obviously Ben Brown is done, which is tough. So I believe Jalen Cunningham, who was on the offensive line, then he was on the defensive line. Now he's back on the offensive line. He is going to be starting at guard. I think they flipped where Ben Brown and Caleb Warren were. I think whichever side Caleb was on before, he's on the other side now. Orlando. I think I saw that he had a bandaged up hand, but I think he's okay. I think they are kind of what they are right now. But that Ben Brown loss, as Lane Kiffin said yesterday, you never really realize what you had until it's gone. I think that is a pretty devastating blow.
All right, Elko and A&M. All right, so their strength is defense. I mean, they're solid on O, but their strength is D. Ole Miss's strength is offense. That front seven's pretty nasty at A&M. What do you think Lane looks to do to offset that?
I mean, it's up there with Alabama in terms of just the physicality and the just talent up there. It is going to be really tough to manufacture offense. I think the way that Ole Miss, and generally when they're most productive is when they use a lot of misdirection, and they sort of, I don't want to say like outsmarted defense, but kind of use misdirection and things of that nature to kind of get things going. I think it's if Matt Corral is going to be a Heisman contender, I think this is the game where you see it, because I think a lot of it's going to be on his shoulders making plays. Because I don't know how much is going to be, guys running open down the field. I think it's going to be, they are going to have to fight, I think, for every yard and every point, and I think a lot of it's going to be on Matt. But I think it's going to be a real testament to, how Levy and Lane kind of scheme this thing, because Ole Miss is A&M's giving up 14.7 points per game. I think it is. They're nasty up front, and this is an offense that is already beat up as it is. I think it's going to take some sort of fancy play calling to kind of get this thing done. It is not going to be. I don't think anything's going to be easy. If
A&M plays smash mouth football on offense to try to keep Corral off the field, how does that look for the Ole Miss defense, Katz?
Yeah, I mean the Ole Miss defense. It's interesting because last week I think we finally thought that we were going to get like the complete game from the team and the defense, and then I think the defense overall played pretty well. They only gave up 14 points, but they gave up. It got a little bit dicey there toward the end with Malik Willis kind of rallying Liberty, and I think. It's like the defense is so close, and I think for a game like this, where they might be on the field for a decent amount of time, it's going to be all hands on deck. Ole Miss has struggled at times against the run, and this is a Texas A&M team that I think has the second best yards per carry in college football. Isaiah Spiller is a superstar. They've got a couple backs, and with their quarterback situation, kind of being where it is, they are going to just run it down your throat. It's a little bit like Alabama, but maybe a little bit less window dressing.
Right.
I think it's going to be really tough, especially since, at this point, the Ole Miss defense, with the 3-2, it kind of is what it is, and teams kind of know how to exploit it and do what they do. And I think Jimbo Fisher is by far smart enough to know that you can run it down this defensive throat.
All right, I've got a minute. What time do you have to get out there because of College Game Day? What time do you have to get out to the Grove on Saturday?
Man, I might just set up a tent Thursday night.
Are you living in Oxford or Tupelo?
I'm in Oxford.
Smart play. Very, very smart play by Michael Katz, djournal.com. Man, you're in for another great experience with College Game Day coming to Oxford. I hope to see you jump up on stage at some point during the show. Enjoy it. We'll talk next week. Thank Katz.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. Michael Katz, djournal.com on the Bell's Two-Hearted Ale guest line. Katz will probably have to get out there at 6 a.m. It'll be a little chilly. This is not Manhattan Beach weather for Katz this weekend. He's going to have to get the pullover and vest and all that kind of good stuff going. Straight ahead, your last SEC Insider hit of the day right here on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone.